Thank you. My first hippie retreat. Let me start by making a confession. I'm a secret hippie. I have never openly admitted to being a hippie, but there is a hippie in my heart. Somewhere down in there, buried under my carefree facade and narcissist charms, there is a bowl of granola waiting to be eaten. A few summers ago, I was tired of the city. I was restless over it, and I wanted to get away from it all. I needed to find some peace and reconnect with Mother Nature. So, as a secret hippie, I booked a week-long retreat at the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, California. An hour south of San Francisco, Esalen hangs on the edge of the earth. It's a narrow strip of paradise between tumbling boulders, blazing wildfires, and the big blue ocean. According to the website, Esalen is on ancient ground, opening new horizons, pioneering deep change in self and society. You have to book a workshop to stay at Esalen, so I signed up for a poetry class. It sounded better than aquatic yoga for aspiring marketing professionals or ecstatic dance for seniors. I write articles and stories all the time. Maybe I could try my hand at poetry. Was it possible that I, Joe Wozny, was a poet and that I did not know it? 2 days before I was supposed to leave for my transformational journey, I stumbled into a shame spiral that ended with me getting arrested in front of my apartment. Shirtless, turned up, in wet, dripping jorts, weeping to the officer about how I had a job and this sort of thing doesn't happen to people like me. I lost my phone and my wallet, so they recorded my name wrong during intake, and it took my parents all day to locate their shirtless, hoodlum child and bail him out. How did I board the plane without ID? Did I need my birth certificate? Thankfully, my neighbor found my wallet in the bushes. I guess I had some karma after all. Weighed down with the burden of shame and regret, though, clutching my throbbing head and liver, I was ready to retreat, ready to detox. Maybe this was a chance to heal myself after all. I felt like Sandra Bullock going into rehab, in whatever movie that is she goes into rehab in. When you fly into Monterey, the fog hides the ground, and as the plane descends, you see only the gray wash of clouds and the tops of mountains. In that moment, I was certain we would crash into a mountain. Goodbye, cruel world, I said to myself. I hope someone deletes my internet history for me. The plane did not crash, and I did not die, and the shuttle to take me to Esalen arrived at the airport on time. When I arrived at Esalen, we ate dinner in a big communal dining hall. At Esalen, they serve 3 amazing buffet-style meals a day. Most of the vegetables are grown right there on the grounds. It made the Whole Foods buffet seem like Denny's. I was looking forward to eating lots of veggies and feeling thin and pretty, but it turns out 4 plates of locally sourced whole grain pasta is still just 4 plates of pasta. At first, I felt very alone. Everyone already seemed to know each other. They already had their cliques. There were the bushy SoCal housewives with fake tits and own tramp stamps. Attractive and rich as hell Berkeley students. Depressing men trapped in midlife crises looking to heal the wounds from their fathers and find themselves. Full-blown river nymphs with dreads and didgeridoos, and then me, alone in the corner, pretending to read The Economist, a magazine I don't really like, because according to others, I lack the vulnerability necessary to engage in spiritual practices. In our first meeting for workshop, we shared our favorite poems. Everyone brought Mary Oliver poems. I don't know if you've ever read a maybe you have, a Mary Oliver poem, but they're really fucking boring. Everyone seemed so old and serious. There was one girl my age in the class, and immediately my pervert brain was trying to undress her. This is not the time for that, I scolded myself. We are here to write poems, to engage with the magnificence of nature and heal our wounds. I went down to the beach and listened to the ocean for a while, trying to find some peace. I wanted to find stillness in the waves and write a poem about it. I tried to remember the syllable count for haikus. But then I just obsessed about whether or not my, at the time, pseudo-girlfriend had emailed me yet. We were in a lover's quarrel about how we were both slutty dirtbags. I wrote nothing. Had she emailed me back yet? Is it 5 syllables or 7? I bet she emailed me. Can haikus rhyme? I waited till the Wi-Fi got turned back on and checked my email. The baths at Esalen are the stuff of legend. Henry Miller used to spend his nights down at the tubs jerking off his dude friends because, hey, I'm not gay, but homoeroticism is just fun and literary sometimes. It was at those baths, also, that Hunter S. Thompson was beaten within an inch of his life and nearly thrown off the cliff by a group of angry homosexuals. As a literary fanboy, it felt good to soak in the tub and imagine that this is the place where Aldous Huxley once got his dick sucked. The baths are hot, sulfur hot springs, and they are known for their healing qualities. At the baths, clothing is optional, which means everyone is naked. That is unless you're a total prude or something. I saw the girl from my poetry class. She was the only one wearing a bathing suit. It was a one-piece. Despite the highly erotic nature of her poetry, she was a prude after all. It's okay, pervert bird brain. You can rest now. I tried really hard to stay aloof and be over this whole thing, but despite my best efforts, people liked me and liked my poems. I wrote one poem about email, one about jerking off into the sea, and one about how nobody reads poetry. They liked them all. But they really loved the one about how nobody reads poetry. You're really funny, they said. I know, I said. The workshop felt more like a group therapy session than a poetry workshop. I don't think we ever talked about words, meter, or metaphors. Most of the poems were about death, their mothers, their dog, their friends. Someone would read a poem, burst into tears, and the group would gather to group hug, reassuring the weeping one, "You are so brave." I did want to discuss the mechanics of language, but I also felt like an insensitive asshole. How do you tell a weeping man that the metaphor he chose to illuminate his brother's death is trite? I had smoked all my cigarettes, so I had to start bumming from the poetry teacher. I asked her why we didn't ever really talk about language, and she said it didn't matter. People are paying her a lot of money to cry about their dogs. That's why people come here, to cry. Quickly, we bonded. I wanted her to mother me, and she did. I still open her book from time to time and smile. I told her I was broke, so she bought me a $150 massage, which could have been amazing, except that I really had to pee the entire time, and I was afraid to speak up and ask to go pee. But I really should have said something. On my last day there, I was tired of bumming cigarettes from my poetry teacher, so I desperately searched the grounds for a smoker. "Hey," I yelled at some girl, "I need a cigarette." She gave me a cigarette and invited me out for drinks with her and some of the girls in the workshop. Drinks? Yes. Fuck yes, it would be nice to drink again. All this healing was stressing me out. Her name was Katie, and she was enrolled in a workshop titled Opening the Pelvic Floor. Apparently, a girl in her class can meditate herself into a 3-hour yoga orgasm. 3 hours! That sounds exhausting! On our way into town, we stopped at the gas station where I bought several packs of American Spirits and a postcard. I quickly scribbled a passive-aggressive love note to my pseudo-girlfriend and tore it up, threw it away, and bought another postcard. I never wrote anything on that one, but made sure to tell her later that I tore the first one up. At the bar, the girls told their stories. One of them had lost feeling in her lower half after being raped. She was trying to reconnect with her body. Another girl shattered her pelvis in a cycling accident and was having trouble finishing her PhD thesis because sitting down caused her chronic pain. Katie, the girl who invited me, was there to become a better stripper. "You can never have a relaxed enough pelvis," she said. Within minutes, I was deeply in love with this 19-year-old stripper. "Heart, be still," I said. "No," cries my heart. "Can you see how her silver glitter leggings twinkle in the moonlight?" We talked intensely, gazing deep into each other's eyes. "Do you want to go down to the baths later?" she asked me. Yes. I did. I wanted to go down the baths with her. I wanted to open up all of her chakras. I wanted to own with the collective consciousness and fuck the namaste out of her Jungian animus. when she joked about giving us lap dances. Sure, we said. Katie put Rob Zombie, her favorite, on the jukebox and started to dry hump each and every piece of furniture in the room. I had never been to a strip club before, but in that moment, as she climbed up onto me and I felt her ass push into my crotch, I truly understood the cosmic ecstasy of being grinded upon. The Buddhists call this satori. At the bar, an old grizzled-looking man smiled, watching us. He did. Okay. He ran out of money for the jukebox, and the old man pulled a $5 bill out, saying, "As long as I can watch." He gave her the money, and as she descended on me once again, I felt at one, once again, with the universe. When we got back to the grounds, I walked her to her cabin. We hugged, we kissed. She pulled away and said, "This is a mistake, I'm sorry." And she went inside. Devastated, I trudged back to my cabin and jerked off in the shower so that my cabin mates could not hear me. After that, I wasn't feeling very sleepy, so I went down to the baths for one last soak. I walked over to the silent side, the one where there's no talking allowed, and filled up the tub. I soaked until the bath became a womb and I a fetus. My body became one with the water, and I felt ego melting and my heart letting go. And for the first time in 18 years, my mind became quiet. Born again, I emerged from the womb and stood at the railing, 100 feet above the crashing waves and jagged rocks. I heard the roaring of the ocean and the howling wind. I felt the cold air on my warm skin. And I looked up and I saw the whole Milky Way. I was nude, completely alone, and content with the meaninglessness of life. I looked across the room, and there was my poetry teacher, also leaning against the railing, gazing into the abyss. We said nothing because there was nothing to say. I've never slept so soundly as I did that night. The next day, while I waited for the shuttle to take me back to the airport, I watched everyone leaving. It felt like the last day of camp. I was sad. I missed the ocean. I missed the strippers' glitter leggings. I missed the promise of transformation. Most of all, I missed the feeling of napping in the grass on the edge of the earth. I wanted to write a poem about it, but instead I checked my email. Namaste.